All right, fellow fact checkers. Now, before we start the show, I want to remind you to head over and check out our great sponsor, Fox and Son Coffee. They've got an amazing deal with all kinds of blends going on. So head over there and check it out. You can get the Mexican honey prep, the Brazilian honey prep, the Guatemalan, the Ethiopian. They'll be adding new roasts regularly. So be sure to check in and see what new flavors Steve has got over at Fox and Sons Coffee. They've also got all of your usual favorites, the Den Blend Dark, the Den Blend Light, and the one that we personally like around the house since we can't seem to agree on which of the light or the dark is better for both me and the wife, the Den Blend 2 Electric Boogaloo, which is the medium roast. So be sure to use the checkout code FCT for Fact Check This at checkout, and that'll get you an 18% discount on any order of $25 or more. Also, any order of $37.99 or more get you free shipping. Load up on all the greatest coffee on the market, and you can thank me later. Well, let's start the show. This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast. All right. Fact Check This podcast. I'm working on coming back, but I'm not quite ready. I've done some morning after, and I've done a peddling fiction, and I'm getting there, but I'm not quite there. So for this episode, it's going to be recorded. It's not going to be live, and I'm going to play the recording of what I said at Sean's funeral. And then there's going to be a musical piece at the end that was from Sean's celebration of life. And I'm hoping by this time next week, I will be ready to start doing this again. There are a lot of emotional connections between doing this show and Sean, because he did episodes with me. And so I'm just not quite ready for this just yet. But slowly and surely, I'm getting back to what passes for normal now. And I will be back to doing this soon. I just need another week or so. And then we can dive back into all the dumb, fun bullshit that's going on in the world and reading stuff and talking about it. That's coming. Again, I hope next week I'll be ready. But I know this week I'm not. I got a couple morning afters under my belt. Did a peddling fiction with Johnny last Friday. We did a night show, hangout, game night, and everything is going good. And I'm doing all right. If you want to follow along with kind of what I've been going through, you can read all about it on my Substack. I've been writing a bunch, and that's been very helpful. But doing the actual show itself, it's still kind of a hang up. So I will get there. I am getting there. I'm just not there today. Thank you all for the support and for the love and for the messages and everything else.
It has meant the world, and it has sincerely carried us through all of this. And I can never express enough how much that means to me and my entire family. Thank you again so much. Check out the Substack, and I think you're really going to enjoy the musical piece at the end of this. Again, thank you, and I hope to be back next week. I appreciate you all so much.
Not gonna be on my deathbed, knowing I'll be buried in regret. Thinking about the things I never did while I'm taking my last breath. No need to fear the end, 'cause I'll know I didn't just live. When I die, I'll know I didn't just live. I was alive. I'll know I didn't just live. I was alive. Not gonna be on my deathbed, wondering why I was always scared. To say those words I never said to the ones I loved while I was there. When I die, I'll know I didn't just live. I was alive. I'll know I didn't just live. I was a person that you were proud of. Took chances, didn't doubt of. No need to fear the end, 'cause I'll know I didn't just live. I was alive. No need to fear the end, 'cause I'll know I didn't just live. No need to fear the end, 'cause I'll know I didn't just live. No need to fear the end, 'cause I'll know I didn't just live. No need to fear the end, 'cause I'll know I didn't just live. When I die, I'll know I didn't just live. I was alive. I'll know I didn't just live. I was a person that you were proud of. Took chances, didn't doubt of. No need to fear the end, 'cause I'll know I didn't just live. I was alive. I was alive. I was alive.
I picked the songs based off of a playlist that he would put on anytime we were in the truck together, and also ones that were more or less appropriate for church. So I don't know if any of you really listened to the lyrics of the first song. It says, "I'm not going to be on my deathbed knowing I'll be buried in regret. Think about the things I never did while I'm taking my last breath. No need to fear the end, because I'll know I didn't just live. When I die, I'll know I didn't just live, I was alive. Not going to be on my deathbed wondering why I was always scared to say those words I never said to the ones I loved while I was there. When I die, I know I didn't just live, I was alive. I was a person that you were proud of, took chances, didn't doubt them. No need to fear the end, because I'll know I didn't just live, I was alive. That's from the band Beartooth, a song titled I Was Alive. Sean had me add Beartooth to the playlist that I kept on my phone that I played in my truck. And he knew I was really particular about my playlists. So he had assured me it would go with what I liked and had me play a couple different Beartooth songs. And that was one of them that he had me play to assure me that it was good for the list. And he would even specifically request that I would put that one and a couple other ones on whenever we would be in my truck. Whoever's driving controls the radio, if you weren't aware of that. So if you're in his truck, he picks the playlist, and if you're in my truck, I pick the playlist. So he wanted to make sure there was stuff on the playlist that he liked, and he would request stuff. I never really listened to the lyrics of that song. I heard the song, and I knew it fit with what I liked. But Friday morning, Stephanie and I had to run into town for some stuff. And on the way back, it came on. And for the first time, I actually listened to the lyrics. And I just broke down crying. Stephanie said, you might need to change your playlist for a few days, which is not going to happen. But I broke down crying because when I listened to that, it really did summarize how Sean lived. He didn't spend a lot of time thinking about what might have been and what could have been, or any of that kind of stuff. He was looking ahead at the future, at what was coming next. He was living in the moment, and he was always just full of love, grinning like an idiot, his big, massive smile. And for as big as that huge smile is that you can see in almost all of these pictures, he had an even bigger heart. I'm not going to go back through the accident. And that morning, I've done enough of that, and God knows I think about it constantly. What I do want to do is talk about how he lived and how alive he was. He was always such a happy kid. Like the others have mentioned, he loved video games, he loved comic books, he loved all things that were just imaginative and adventurous. When he was little bitty, I would sit in the living room and play on my Xbox, and I'd stick a wired controller in his hand, and I'd run the wire over there to the Xbox, but I wouldn't plug it in, and he was helping. He was always helping. We watched all of the DC and animated movies and TV series. We watched all of the Marvel movies. We watched Young Justice and all kinds of other stuff, and had all kinds of plans for others that we were going to watch, and waiting for the next season of Invincible to come out and all this other stuff. Well, one time, and he loved Batman. Like, Batman was one of his top. And one time when he was little, we were watching, I can't remember what it was, but it was one of the DC animated movies, and he goes, "Dad, you know Batman?" Well, he just meant, did I know who Batman was? But I was like, of course I know Batman. I used to be a Green Lantern. But when we found out that your mom was pregnant with you, I gave up my ring. I couldn't have the bad guys coming after my kids to get to me. So I turned it in. He took off. We were at Mom and Dad's house. And he took off upstairs. And he comes running back down, and he's got his little Green Lantern mask on. And he's got this light up ring. And he goes, "Well, since you can't do it anymore, I'm going to be the Green Lantern." And lights that ring up. He was going to do it for me. Hey, that's his heart. And then that carried on. He told all of his friends that I was a retired Green Lantern. So I tell them stories about, just patrolling the like Earth and Moon, not doing anything major. Because when you've got Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, Kyle Rayner, even Guy Gardner, Like, when you've got these great Green Lanterns, the other one doesn't really have a lot to do. So, I just kind of hang out. Papa was the Eradicator, the Superman with the glowing hands that had shot the lasers. And how shocking that was for us as a family to find that out when Superman died and he shows up with the glowing hands. And then for Superman to just beat him up and him to retire after that. So all these stories. And Sean and his little friends just ate it up. I think they were teenagers before they figured out that I was just telling stories, and he would want. But that was what was so cool about him and all his friends, was how much they just loved that wonder of everything. And then of course he took that and he developed his own interests in comics and video games, and then he would tell me about stuff that I didn't know about and that I hadn't experienced before. Chainsaw Man and Arc Raiders and other games that I still haven't figured out how to play, but I promise I'm going to, because I'm going to keep some of his gaming stuff going. And then it carried over for Katie too. She picked, whether she would admit it or not, she picked up a love of comics and video games to some extent. There was a comic series that she found when we were just randomly at Barnes & Noble one day called Something is Killing the Children, and the something is monsters. But she got to reading that, and Sean picked it up, and then he got to reading it, and then he read past what Katie had read, and then he was like, well, there's more stuff, so we need to get this and this and this and this and this. So I've got every bit of it, and so Katie and I will finish it at some point, but he would outpace us. He didn't particularly like to read, but when he found something that he really dug into, he dug into it, and he went all the way in, wholehearted. But all that comics and games and the different stuff that he was into, it also built his little community. And you can see a bunch of them here, a bunch of his friends from school. But there are also a bunch that were online. They have their Discord server and the games they play. And Soup made us play Skate. I cannot tell y'all how many times over the last 5 years he has tried to bully me into playing Skate. And it didn't matter if he did get bigger than me. I would not be bullied. And I kind of regret that, but I don't know anything about skateboarding. And he would drag me along, and I'd watch him skate, and I'd tell him to do a kick flip. And he's like, that's not that easy. I don't know. So it's so cool to see the communities that he's built through all of those things that he loved, and the way that they have honored him and paid tribute to him, and how much they loved him. It really speaks volumes to what a great kid he was, to see the way all of these other kids loved him and looked up to him. Not just because he was twice as tall as all of them. For some reason, they're all so short. But how much they loved him and respected him and cared about him, and how much he loved and cared about them. The more that people come up to us and tell us what a wonderful kid was, how bright his smile was, and how compassionate he was, I know we did something right. All of us. And probably a lot of times in spite of ourselves. He had such a huge heart. And he was so gentle and loving. And for anybody that saw him, a kid that big, they can be scary. But he was so soft and so gentle. And I made fun of him for how soft he was, because I'm not very. And see, there are people laughing because they know that I am not soft at all. And he was. And it was so amazing. They called him a gentle giant. And that's what he was. But it wasn't just because of his physical stature, but it was because of that heart and that love that he had. So we won't get to see what he was going to do with that big heart. I know it was going to be something awesome. He had plans for a family and a career and a life and all this stuff. And while we'll never get to see what that could have been, we get to look around and see the impact that he made. You see it in this room right now. We see what an amazing example he set of a young man who was truly good. And somehow we had something to do with that. He made us so proud. And I can sincerely say, every single person that comes up to me and tells me something else about him, about how kind he was, some dumb thing that he did that sounds exactly like him, it makes me even more proud. I never knew how proud I could be of him. And I don't think every time I feel like can't feel any more pride, somebody else comes and tells me something else he did, and it's like I'm going to burst just from love and pride for what an incredible kid he was. So going forward, we get to try to live our lives, those of us that are left behind, to be a little bit worthy of what we had through him. To be a little more kind, a little more compassionate, a little more soft. It might be tough, but I can do it. He loved God and he loved church. I wish I could find it. I had such perfect timing that I can't find it now. I had a picture of him when he got baptized 10 years ago, I believe it was. It would have been 10 years ago in June. And when he came up out of that baptism, just the beaming glow on his face was indescribable. I've never seen a kid look that happy. You couldn't have given him a brand new PlayStation on Christmas and had his face beam like that. It's just so happy. There, I think, if I've checked right, every Discord server he's in has a daily Bible verse. I wish my friends were so wholesome that our Discord servers had daily Bible verses. Every Discord server that he was in, I'm pretty sure, had a daily Bible verse. And one that stuck out right after the accident was Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Be not frightened, neither dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So we'll take that verse with us wherever we go. And Sean's massive love and faith and strength will go with us too. I wasn't sure if I was going to say this part, and I'm going to. And I've told the family already, but I had my first dream about Sean the night before last, since he passed. And there's a picture on one of those boards back there where he's laid across the couch with my dog Blade. Blade's head is on top of his, as the two of them are just sprawled across the couch, taking up the entire thing, which is the way he always sat on the couch. And so I had my first dream about him the other night, and he was on the couch, exactly like that, taking up the whole thing. And I walked into the living room. I said, I've got the pictures of your truck if you want to see them. He said, no, not really. I was like, all right, that's fair. I said, if you change your mind, I got them. He's like, all right, I'll think about it. I'm like, so what happened? And he goes, I don't know. I was driving, and then I wasn't. Exactly the way he would do it. And then we got in my truck, and we took off driving, and we put on some music. And I woke up, and I know that was him, because that's exactly what he would have said. And we know that he didn't feel a thing. He's not in pain. He didn't suffer. He was just driving, and then he wasn't. And then he was with God. I cannot begin to express how much all of your support has meant over this past week. Nobody knows how to grieve something like this. Nobody knows how to come to grips with such an enormous loss. There aren't right words. But at the same time, every single word is the right word. Everything that you do for us is exactly what we need at exactly that moment. If he was here, he would wrap every one of you in those big, massive arms. Thank you for comforting us. So when we get done here, come up and we'll wrap you in our arms and thank you for comforting us as well. Thank you all for being here and for everything you've done. And we look forward to seeing you at the gravesite and again for the meal afterwards. Before you go, make sure you check out our great sponsor, Agorist Acres. Now, agoristacres.com, you can find over 100 varieties of seeds. They've got vegetables, flowers, all kinds of stuff. They've got heritage brands, everything that you want to start any kind of garden that you need. It's free shipping on any order of $20 or more. They've got cool packaging, and most of the seeds come in a fancy glass vial, no paper envelopes. They accept US dollars and crypto and can easily take either at checkout. Now be sure to head over to agoristacres.com, and anything that you get, use the promo code FCT at checkout for 10% off your order. I say all the time that you need to be starting your own garden, you need to be growing your own food, you need to be getting off the grid and becoming less dependent on grocery stores and stuff like that. Agorist Acres is a great first start. They have got everything you need for whatever kind of garden you want. Great people, great product. Highly recommend. So go check them out.